Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Friday. Yeah, what a week, an incredible week for gold and silver. One of the best weeks of the year, concluding here as the dollar weakness is the theme as inflation expectations coming in. Rate hike cycle ending, and again, we thought it was going to be. I thought it'd already be over by now. Jason kind of said, "Hey, don't be surprised if this plays out a little longer," and we got the little longer. But I think everybody's getting ready for a lot of dollar weakness as the national debt continues exploding higher. Now we're about $400 billion away from $33 trillion. We're going to be staring at $34 trillion, and that's just what the federal government has. Got to add what the central bank has, and we're well north of $40 trillion on our way to $50 trillion. And Jason, the latest numbers out of the CBO saying interest payments on the debt are getting ready to crest $1 trillion, and by all accounts, by next year, are going to now consume the largest part of the budget, passing Social Security. It's already passed defense, Medicare, Medicaid. It's going to be, it really is asinine that we got ourselves at this point where our biggest outlay now is going to be interest on the debt.
Well, before I joined Patriot, I was watching this happen, years ago. This was going to happen. This is the way it's set up. They have an ever-increasing debt load. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. Eventually, if you just never pay down the principal, which we never do, eventually your number one line item, when it gets too big, is going to be the interest on the debt. It's just, here we are, right? Back when it was, 2008, it was around 10 trillion, right? It was, it wasn't as big of a problem as it is now. So it's, if they have it their way, Joe, eventually it'll be the number one line item that we pay for, and it'll be double everything else. How's that? We'll look for that level next time.
I think you're right. I think that's, I hate to say it, but that's probably a reasonable thing that we'll be talking about. And the problem is that doubling, by double, that's going to be here real quick. I think that's the problem. I think this is what the markets are seeing. Because it's like, okay, what's the next story? And I know they want to close the book on inflation. It's not closed. But they're previewing what the next story is going to be. 800-951-0592, allamericangold.com. That is the website to keep you in the know. Silver over $25, and silver's been on an absolute tear. And I'll say this: silver, copper, platinum. Platinum also had a great week as well. Look for all three of those metals to do well no matter what happens economically. Then these are just supply and demand fundamentals playing out. Today is going to conclude the huge silver sale that was started on yesterday. Even think about this, every day it's gotten better, right? Silver, the first day was up $1. Yesterday was up 75 cents. Today, right now, I say it's only up another 25 cents, but the price has remained the same. Rolls of Silver Eagles at $700. Cases of Silver Eagles, that's 500 ounces. Sealed cases. Hasn't seen the light of day since the mint minted them. $7,250. You buy 3 cases, $17,000. I know a lot of you want to get in on gold today. We've got a great opportunity. $10 liberties. These are the pre-1933 gold pieces. This is where you want to be. Why? Why do I want pre-33? Well, simply because it's the most private way to own anything anymore. The most private way to own it. You can buy it. You can sell it. You can trade it. You don't have to give out your Social Security number. You don't have to get 1099. 1,075. Tell you what, 10 or more, 1,070. 20 or more, 1,065 at 800-951-0592. And the big story of the day, Jason, is it appears that this month we will surpass $1 trillion in interest payments. It's not the Fed year, but from if you go from August of last year to July of this year, add up all the interest payments, we have crested $1 trillion. By the way, the government's debt for the month of June, just out of sight here. They said that outlay soared 15%. What happened to the Inflation Reduction Act? Outlays in June, $646 billion. That was up $100 billion. And here's the problem with that. That wasn't due to, Social Security payment fell on an odd day. No. That was just straight were outlays up $100 billion. How about tax receipts? This is another one, an indicator. How is the economy? Tax receipts down 9.2%. It is the biggest receipts in government tax receipts going back to the COVID lockdowns. Yeah, probably a good reason why gold and silver have been roaring all week. 800-951-0592. Jason and I coming right back. $800-951-0592. A quick look here at the markets. The Dow's up 100. The S&P's up 5. The Nasdaq's up 37. Gold's up a dollar or two here, 1965. Silver up 25 cents, $25.03. The 10-year note up just a little bit, of course. Way down from the peak here, 379 on the 10-year note, and of course, if you're thinking about, this makes no sense. Wait a minute, we're paying over $1 trillion in interest, and to Jason's point, right? What are we, months away from the interest being the biggest outlay the government has, and we're saying that we've got a sound financial system. Right? Banks, the bank lending facility. Don't say anything because J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo's had great earnings today. Of course, J.P. Morgan got a sweetheart deal when they got awarded Silicon Valley Bank. But other than that, hey, everything's fine. Yet the emergency lending facility hitting another record high. How are these banks going to pay this back? When is that going to happen?
Joe, you know how ludicrous it is that you're talking about over a calendar year, August through July of this year, you're talking $1 trillion in debt payments. And listen how ludicrous this is. Because people just don't know banking. They don't know money printing. If the U.S. Treasury was simply printing that money, the same job that the Fed is doing, that interest payment would be zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Listen. Why are we paying the Fed interest on the almost $8.5 trillion on their balance sheet? They didn't spend $8.5 trillion to get that. They just created it out of thin air. Then we got to pay interest on it.
On top of that, the Federal Reserve was given its charter in 1913, and part of the argument in Congress was, well, you can't expect non-business elected officials to know how to do banking and to control money. So you need us as a independent, private company. Yeah. You need us to take care of your business. That was J.P. Morgan helping with the 1907 collapse of the markets. Well, all you have to do is look what's happening today. The Treasury is being run by a Federal Reserve chief. The banker is in the Treasury. What
the banker's
more reason
in
do you
control,
need?
Right?
Yeah, the Treasury can print it now, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we don't need them,
Maybe,
right? But it's a complete fraud. It's a complete racket. We have organized criminals running our monetary system worldwide.
This is why you got to be diversified. This is why every person out there, if you don't own gold and silver, you're an idiot. Period. No offense. You know what? If you take offense to that, oh well. That's just the truth. That's the fact. If you have all your money in your 401k and IRAs and you don't have someone like my son Joey looking out for you, you're an idiot. If you don't have other diversified investments like our friends at White Refi, right? That, hey, another banking crisis, they don't care, right? Are we?
That was a required weekly test of the emergency alert system on 91.5 KUNC and KUNC.org. We're NPR for Northern Colorado.
Hi, I'm Bo Baker, newscast editor and producer for KUNC.
Dollars to invest, but it really gets worse than people imagine. So let's think about June, right? And we talked about, Jason, we've got some calm, right? We talked about this calm before the next wave comes. Maybe there's a reason there was calm is the monthly budget deficit jumped to $228 billion in a single month. And you're sitting there, you're like, that's almost $3 trillion annualized. This is the situation that we're in. The $1.4 trillion Biden budget deficit last year, remember he did a big dance and how proud he was of it. And of course I told you, that's over. And that was just some, I don't want to say luck, but things with COVID and all that stuff. Look at tax receipts. Down almost 10%. By the way, just another one of these things. Never have we have tax receipts fallen by this much without us going into a recession. Never have we had interest rates get risen by this much without going into a recession. Never have we cut the money supply, reduced the money supply, and not gone into a recession. But somehow, Jason, we're going to avoid it. I don't know how.
Well, I don't hear a lot of people saying we're going to avoid it. Even some of the mainstream media is saying that something's coming. But there are those that are saying, well, everything's okay. Yeah, go buy a house. go throw some money into the stock market. It's prime and ready, right, Joe? It's go speculate, right? It's not a good time to be betting, and throwing your money on a whim. This is the time where you buckle down and hold on for the ride because it's coming, Joe.
Yeah, right now the budget deficit, we've already surpassed last year's. And we still got July, August, September, right? We still got 3 more months to go. Right now we're looking at about 175% increase in the debt, and unfortunately, it only gets worse going into next year. Like I said, they're anticipating that, and really, I guess probably by December, the monthly interest payments will surpass Social Security payments, right? It'll take that number out. They won't officially say it's the most expensive. The question is going to be, you know what, I think, Jason, probably a great question would be, when will it double Social Security? That's probably going to be a great question. It will double military spending. Here's the sad part. By the end of next year, the interest is going to double what we're spending on the military. So what is that? What is that? 1.8, 1.9 trillion dollars in interest payments? Are you kidding me? right? I mean, this is all the nonsensical stuff you have to believe. Oh, don't worry, everything's wonderful, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, if the interest rates stay up, then that'll make the interest payments go up even further because all the lower interest stuff will fall off the books eventually, right, Joe? And then all the Hub is replacing is this higher interest debt in its place. And so, yeah, that you could see tripling maybe, right? Maybe 5 years, 10 years, you'll see a tripling of, $3 trillion. Is that even possible? Can the country survive with $3 trillion a year interest payments? I mean, I guess we'll have to see.
I wonder what Janet Yellen thinks about Go Big. Remember? Oh, let's just spend it because, when interest rate, let's go big. We're not paying for it. Well, we're paying for it now. And it's going to get very, very interesting. So think about what's coming. So August, we know we're going to see yields rise. Right? And this is outside of the Fed raising another quarter. I think the Fed's got maybe 2 hikes left. One here, maybe one more. We'll see. Now, I've been wrong, right, because I thought they'd be done now. But in August, they have to start selling billions and billions, hundreds of billions more of long-dated securities. Why? Well, because they're rolling over. Why is the interest payment so much? We're rolling over 20% of all the marketable debt. That's why. And it keeps going higher. Think about this. We just added another $288 billion in 1 month. In 1 month. And the situation, unfortunately, every month from here on out, it doesn't get better. Right? We have falling revenues. We have increasing, skyrocketing outlays. This is just, Jason, really a textbook recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I think the school loans have to start being repaid next month, and
that also in August. You're right.
Credit cards are completely maxed out. You're seeing the debt loads of the average consumer debt is getting to peak. Credit card companies aren't completely dumb. They're not going to just give you $1 million of credit. They know that's going to bite them in the butt. So credit limits are hitting all-time highs, and they're hitting their limit. You can only loan so much money out to people who need it, Joe. So all this is happening right now. So the only question will be is, will this cause stress to the markets greatly in August, or will it grind out another month or two before we really see the damage start to take place and see a lot of wackiness? Banks closing, Joe. I think we get more bank closures before the end of the year. I don't know how many, but I'll bet they start up again. And then next year, I think we get a ton of them.
Well, I'm going to read you. So J.P. Morgan came out with earnings. I want to share with you quotes from Jamie Dimon. Now, why is he important? Well, he's the head of the biggest of all the big banks, right? J.P. Morgan, the biggest bank in the country. We all want to be in a position where banks can fail and the world doesn't go down the tubes. Yeah. I thought you said you did that with too big to fail. You know how you do that? You don't let banks get as big as J.P. Morgan. That's how you do it. I mean, it's actually a really simple solution. You don't let banks get this big. How did they get this big? Well, Congress rewrote the laws. There used to be laws in place that prevented banks from being this big. But I digress. There was a real problem in plain sight, which interest rate exposure and some of the uninsured deposits. It's over for now. Most of it's been handled. Here was where it got interesting, though. If rates go up from here, and they might, and they're gonna, right? We're going to get a rate hike in 2 weeks. It will rear its ugly head again. Consumers have money, he said. They have almost $1 trillion in their checking account. Now, of course, you know what I would love to know on this $1 trillion? If you took out, like, I don't know, the top 1,000, how much is really in there, right? Right? How much is really in there? It's been coming down. And we think by the end of the year, all of the excess money will be spent. So there you go. Now, for Jamie Dimon, he goes, well, that's kind of, good news. Even if we go in recession, that's good news. He called that good news. By the end of the year, the consumer's going to have no excess money left. Jason, that's the good news. That should tell people a lot about where we're at. Is the guy at the head of our largest bank said, hey, consumers going to be out of money by the end of the year. They're not going to have any excess money. But isn't that good news?
Well, it doesn't seem like there is any good news when we talk about some of this stuff, Joe. I don't trust Jamie Dimon, obviously, and I don't trust the big banks. Everyone's, that they're a business, right? And so, I don't know what to say. I guess I don't know what to say, Joe. I don't like the way the big banks and the Fed work together, and it's a dangerous situation trying to navigate what you're doing based off of what they're saying, right?
Just think about what he said. Maybe you need to call 800-951-0592. Get some more gold, get some more silver put away. $800 951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour, wrapping up the Silver Eagle sale, epic sale here at Patriot. Rolls of Silver Eagles at $700. Cases of Silver Eagles, $17,250. If you buy 3 cases or more, $17,000. One of the big guys must have got embarrassed because yesterday we told you, listen, we're $3,000 a case less. Jason, they lowered their price today. If you buy 3 cases, they're now down to $19,500. So now we're only $2,500 a case less. But again, this is an epic Silver Eagle sale. I hope all of you can add to your portfolios. Rolls of Silver Eagles at $700. Someone went on sale today at $793. Right, so if you want to pay $93 a roll more, I guess you can. Right, go ahead, or you just call us. Pay $700, buy it by the case, save even more, and then on the gold side, great week for gold. This is kind of, I've been saying, I thought 1900 was the bottom. Now we've got the new higher highs here on gold. $10 liberties, 1 through 9, 1,075. 10 through 19, 1,070. 20 or more, 1,065 at 800-951-0592. And we're reading comments from Jamie Dimon. So here's the good news. The consumer won't be totally out of money till the end of the year. That was his good news. Okay? Yeah. That was his good news, right? Well, at the end of the year, they're going to have no more money left. Well, so that's good news. I'm much worried about things about this. This was really interesting. I can't get past the notion that we've never had it before. We've never had quantitative easing like this before. Well, you did. Right? Janet Yellen tried, remember? It ended in epic failure. But okay, let's just go on this premise. We've never had quantitative tightening before. Again, yes, you did. Janet Yellen tried it, and it ended horrendously, but okay. I think the effects on that in the market may be much more serious than other people think. Telling the truth, right? Jamie Dimon, what is he saying to you? He's letting you know this isn't going to end well, right? Right? Kind of how Jason and I started the show. They didn't have $9 trillion that they used to buy. No, they made it up. They made it up. And then we pay them interest, and then they give that interest to the banks. And lastly, but not least, we've done a terrible job on immigration, amen to that, taxation, mortgages, affordable housing, health care. I mean, Jason, that's kind of most of the big ones. And he's like, yeah, we've done a terrible job in all of that. So, again, this is just the truth coming out. And really, it's just a matter of when does it happen, not if it happens. And you can't be late on it, right? You got to prayer before the flood, right? If Noah didn't build the ark before the flood, well, guess what? Building it after the flood wouldn't have helped, would it, Jason?
No, and for the average person listening, and that might be wondering, well, what is the answer? How would you fix something like this? Well, you'd have to change the business and government relationships that are inside the federal government. You can't have businesses in league with the federal government, which is what we have. So the reason that all this is happening, the reason that we're looking like we're going off an economic cliff all the time, is because big companies and big banks aren't allowed to fail under poor investment. Right, Joe? The bigger they get, the more they're protected by the government, because then the government can tell these big businesses what to do. One hand shakes the other, right? And so the answer to this would be just let the markets set the interest rate. Let the markets decide how to do business and get the federal government out of private business. There should be no subsidies. There should be no picking winners and losers. But since this is what we have, there's no solution to make it better for the average guy. The average guy in small business and even medium-sized business, they're all getting crushed, and we're all becoming debt slaves to a system. And you either have or have not. You're in the big club or you're not, Joe. That's really what it's coming down to.
Yeah, and again, all of these things, like we wouldn't have. It's $41 trillion, right? $41 trillion in debt without this, right? Because how did we get there? Well, we let them create $9 trillion out of thin air. We let them manipulate interest rates, right? Believe me, if they hadn't manipulated interest rates, right, would have never been zero, would have never have been there for 15 years, and you would have never, the government would have been like, hey, we can't borrow that kind of money, right? They wouldn't have done it, right? How did the debt go from $5 trillion to $40 trillion? Well, they brought rates to zero, and they thought it was free. It's not free. And this is what Jamie Dimon really was warning about. Hey, this is what's going to come, right? When he talked about quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, he's just talking about this really was a bad idea, right? We manipulated all of these things, and of course, we allowed these banks. Got to remember, there was a reason why we put all these laws in place back in the 30s. Because we had to protect ourselves from the banks and the bankers. Our founding fathers knew that. They never wanted this system. We've learned our lesson. We found religion, they told us. No, they didn't. They didn't find religion. They got more creative on how to hide their bad behavior. They got 40 years out of it. The problem is the pendulum's on the backswing now, right? And this is where all the pain comes. This wasn't free money. And now all of a sudden you're talking about interest payments going to be the largest expense our government has, and it only grows every single year until essentially, we're going to be at that point. What are we going to do? When's this going to stop? At $2 trillion in interest payments? $3 trillion a year? $4 trillion a year? Where's the number? Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. U.S. Silver Eagle rolls. Today is the final day of the silver sale at $700 a roll. I mean, don't worry. We're still going to be way cheaper than everybody else, but come Monday, it's going to be $730, $740, depending on where silver is, maybe $750. But today, $700. Cases of Silver Eagles, 17,250. 500 or more, 17,000. $10 Liberty gold pieces. This is a great opportunity here. 1 through 9, 1,075. That's $15 off. That's pretty good. 10 through 19, 1,070. That's $20 off. If you can swing 20 or more, 1,065 at 800. 951-0592 because the dollar now and the markets, you got to understand the markets are going to be a little bit ahead, right? They're not focused so much on today. They're not focused necessarily on the rate hike in a couple weeks, but they're looking, hey, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, where are we going to be? And this is why you've seen the dollar fall to a 14-month low. The euro, the yen, the British pound, all at highs for the year. You look at what's coming in August. Let's not forget August 22nd, right? The BRICS are going to lay the foundation, right? They're going to lay the foundation for some form of a gold-backed BRICS currency, right? I mean, I'm not expecting them to go, hey, it's launching today, but I'm expecting the foundation to be there. Jason, we've seen it with all the central bank gold buying. And then the other part, the amount of central banks saying we don't even trust the United States and the UK, because that's where most of the gold had been stored. We don't even trust them holding our gold anymore and repatriating. I mean, this kind of tells you that they already know, hey, this fiat money system, this current one, it's on the blow up path, right? This is what happens to fiat money. What happens? Well, you print too much of it, and then it all becomes worthless, right? And this is the path we're on, and we know we're going to get this digital thing. But Jason, everybody is kind of making preparations for the dollar and the fiat money to continue to decline.
Yeah, and that's where I think this current economic situation is headed, Joe, is that, when things start to go wrong, and we're already looking at it, we've already crested the top of the roller coaster, it's coming down. They're going to bring in this digital currency as the hero that's going to save this thing. Hey, we institute this new financial system, and this is going to fix everything. And I think so many people are going to be lulled into this idea that, hey, we're in a recession, or this is starting to look like a depression. This could take a while, Joe. And I could say us sitting here 2 or 3 years from now, as it's just bad going to worse, and worse going to even worse. And this digital currency will be flaunted out there. And they'll concoct some way of printing a whole bunch of money is what it'll end up being to make the world seem better in America and any other nations that are doing this. And we'll see if the BRIC nations and their goal, it's not the timing of them announcing a gold-backed currency recently here. It's pretty interesting as you talk August, right? And suddenly here they come with their gold-backed currency. We'll see how this all plays out, Joe. We'll see how it all plays out. But it sure seems like we're getting a huge crash, a recessionary / depressionary situation, and here comes the white horse, and riding on it is the digital currency. It will save your family, right? And they'll manipulate the numbers, Joe. There'll be some kind of conversion, is my guess, because they can't have $2 trillion a year, interest payments, right? They'll come up with some sort of a fix, and everyone will think it's something different, and it's just going to be the same system with digital money. It'll be the same thing. It won't change how they're financially or anything, except for one thing: they'll have more control over the money that you have in your possession, which won't be physically in your possession anymore.
And something where I know, Jason, you watched this, the reverse repo, the overnight reverse repos. This was something that it peaked at almost $2.5 trillion. The Fed just released its latest monthly, I guess it's a monthly type report, down to $1.8 trillion. So the last time we checked, it was I want to say like 2.1 trillion. Now it's 1.8 trillion. It's coming down and coming down fairly significantly. This is another one of those stress points. When we see this number, the closer to zero it gets, the more fear there's going to be in the market, Jason.
That's a cash holding facility for anyone who's listening. That's where banks have been parking money for some easy, fast interest. But as the rates go up, if the Fed, who keeps this about a quarter of a point or a 0.05% above their rate, the Fed controls this. If they want banks to start liquidating the cash out of here, they'll just make sure their interest rate is a little bit lower, and then the banks are going to come grab their money. And when that goes to zero, there's no more cash unless the Fed prints it. And then everybody's going to get in line when the Fed says we're going to do digital currency. They're all going to fall in line, Joe.
Currency in circulation. This is money in wallets under the mattress in your safe. The U.S. globally here, a new record, $2.34 trillion in currency circulation. And again, remember, we have a printing problem, right? This is why do we have so much money in circulation? Well, because everything costs so much, right? I mean, we all know, man. I remember, man, you had $100 in your wallet, man. I got a bunch of money. Today you got $100. You're like, well, that's a tank of gas and a combo meal, and that's gone. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment when we return. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason wrapping up the week here. Final segment. Jason and I will be right back with the half-empty cup, and we'll have Glenn Tate with us to wrap up the week. I hope you all have a great weekend. If you're here in the Valley, be careful out there. It's going to get wicked hot even for us. They're talking about potentially 120 degrees, possibly even maybe topping the record. So be careful out there. Have a great weekend. But before you start it, take advantage here, especially the Silver Spectacular Sale. Silver Eagle, $700. I mean, we were at $730 a roll when silver was $23. We started the sale. Silver's now $25. And we're at $700 a roll. So $30 less, and silver's up $2 an ounce this week. Cases of Silver Eagles, right? 17,250. If you buy 3 cases or more, 17,000, right? Similar dynamic there. Way cheaper than all the online guys out there. And then, of course, the $10 Liberty Gold pieces, 1 through 9, 1,075. 10 through 19, 1,070. 20 or more, 1,065. You save $25 a coin if you can afford 20 or more at 800-951-0592. We've got the shift now in the market, Jason, where they're like, okay, we know the Fed's going to hike a few more times, but we're kind of looking past that now, and we're looking at a scenario where the debt is starting to gobble up and gobble up and gobble up and gobble up the finances of the country, and at the same time, right, the rest of the world seemingly uniting to say, hey, you know what, we're going to start preparing for whatever the next currency is going to be. And Jason, I think that's really what we're seeing in the markets. I think we're going to see 2024, we're probably going to start seeing a prolonged period where we're going to see a lot of dollar weakness.
Yeah, and I think the dollar's going to, anybody that's looking at this honestly, the dollar's going to be around a long, long, long time. It's not going away. It's going to be a strong currency for a long time. But what we're trying to get at is that it's no longer dominating the world as a reserve currency. I think we're going to have something, Joe, that resembles the IMF currency basket, where certain members that are allowed to be there will have reserve currency status. And just like the pound sterling, that's been around for a long, long, long time. It got replaced after World War II, but it's been this sort of legitimate currency that people trade across the world. The dollar will end up in that status. And here's why it's a problem and why you need to buy gold and silver. The dollar having a so-so status or just a top 5 status, not having the status, means that America is going to have financial problems for a very, very long time, because it's no longer going to be a currency that has to be used. It's going to be a currency that can be used if you want to. That's a big difference, Joe. It's a big difference. We've been skating on the top of that. We've been feeding off the whale for a long time, and now it's coming to an end. People don't realize that this skid may last years and years, Joe.
God bless everybody. Come on over to 1360khnc.com, and Jason and I got the half-empty cup. We'll be right back.